thing is that people in biology have actually complained about this for a while, that people are confusing biology / sex with other things. What is this person's chromosomes? I pull up this. Okay? This is what I pull up. And I say, oh, so this is a human then, right? I don't know what you're talking about. You're saying because I accept a different definition for something, now anytime somebody ever wants to change a definition for anything for the rest of my life, I have to accept that every single time now? Is that it? Is that the answer? Somebody comes over and they're like, hey, Tom, I want to call your penis a vagina now. I got to be like, well, I accept changing definitions. So you are talking this whole convo so seriously. Got to lighten up. No, they weren't. You've been using it right the whole time. We're like, oh, wait, freaking crap, dude, the sky's actually blue. This is literally what I do for a living, right? Okay. And try to explain to people how we use words and how we put them into application. And like what it is that people will understand from these words. I can't do this, dude. I really don't. I don't think I can watch this.
No, because we wouldn't agree with that. Of course you wouldn't do that. Of course you wouldn't do that. I was saying it wouldn't apply, though.
Yeah, it wouldn't apply.
See, okay, so this is... I see where their confusion is now. They hear Marxism, and they think, okay, this is like economic. Like, they want to like make everything like free and... because then he said race communism. This is my issue with calling it Marxism, is that like obviously it's so many levels like removed, but on top of that, it's also like it's so confusing to call it that because people don't hear like a Marxist lens and know what that means. They don't understand that means like a class analysis in the same way that Marx did it, right? They don't understand that. They hear Marxism and they think, oh, like they want to like give everything away for free. Like that's what they hear, right? Not removed at all, literally rooted in it. Right, it can be rooted in something and removed from it. There are religions that are rooted in the Bible, and I would say they are insanely far removed from the Bible. Like, ridiculously far removed from the Bible, right? That like, there's obviously religions like what's the door-to-door one? I'm blanking on words now. Now I'm getting tired. Mormonism. Mormonism is obviously rooted in the Bible and insanely far removed from the Bible. After all the words the left reinvents and you go with it, I don't see why you complain about something like this. What? I complain about people not understanding words. Yes, that's literally my job. It's like explaining words to people. So yes, that's how this works.
That's why.
Why? Because the civil rights movement was about finding your individual humanity to not be judged by race. Okay.
Yes.
That's
awesome.
And part of the reason that it's called race Marxism is because not only is it just this for what it is, as you said, the part of it is this, labeling, viewing the world as a oppressor group that is sort of motivated by some sort of singular purpose that is kind of acting in the zero-sum way, like, oh, white people have to hoard the resources away from black people because we live in the zero-sum system.
I have a study for this.
Okay, but what
before
you
do, I
get
would
to
like
study, what I'm saying is, and the civil rights movement, the liberal, there obviously was radical leftists in the civil rights movement, but the liberal part of it, that one did not view it in that socialist way, did not view it in a sort of Marxian lens, the way that CRT does. So that's why I would say it's not fair to simply say, well, you could call anything Marxian.
Would you agree that Martin Luther King was called over and over a Marxist and a communist?
He was, yeah, because by J. Edgar Hoover and other people who wanted to diminish his movement, sure.
Cool.
Doesn't mean
So,
he was, though.
Right, so it doesn't mean he was. No, there's some socialist elements there, but he was very obviously, he did not like, so he adopted some principles from Marxism and rejected others. Like he rejected the rejection of Christianity and religion. He rejected that part of it.
What? He was a fucking Christian minister.
No, he rejected.
That's what he
He
said.
oh my God, Adam, you are functionally incapable of listening, are you?
Oh, yeah, like, so yeah, he rejected,
He
anyway,
said he
some parts of it.
rejected Christianity, but
No, I said he
No.
rejected.
Adam literally misunderstands everything, dude. Oh my goodness. He doesn't understand words. This is painful, dude. This is so painful. Oh my goodness. I can't do this, dude. I really don't. I don't think I can watch this. This is like, is he drunk or like high or something? Does anybody know? Is he like, is this how he normally is? Instead, you just explain the use of it to everyone. And I'm not complaining about it, but I think this should be treated similarly. No, that is, yes, wait, no, that's my issue. What are you talking about? My issue is the use of the freaking word. That's literally what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's my issue. That's like, yes, I do pragmatics. Like, yes. That's what I'm talking about, is how we use the words, like how we put them into everyday language. What is it that I missed one message? Okay. I mean, I've never seen you complain about them changing the word gender and how it confuses so many people. Wait, but yes, again, that's what pragmatics is we're talking about the use of words, right? Like how we put them into our lexicon. Like crap. Sorry. Yeah, like that's what. So shouldn't you be explaining the left how the right uses the word Marxist? I just want to rewind like 2 minutes. I just want to hit the rewind button just like 2 minutes to where literally that's what I was just saying, is how dumb it is for them to use the word Marxist in this stuff and talk about how they call this a Marxist analysis because they think of this as like an economic and like communist sort of thing, when they don't understand it's like a Marxian analysis, meaning a class-based analysis, meaning like we're looking at different power level structures. This is what I just said. That had just come out of my mouth when we started this part of the conversation. That's why I keep saying, like, it doesn't make sense to use the word Marxist in this context. Like, one, it gives it this reputation of something that it's not. LOL Marxism. You mean that meme ideology that killed 100 million people? Yes, that's the one. But it isn't like you're explaining how stupid it is to use gender for identity instead of biology. Like, you're like, this is how it's evolving in our culture. Because we have other words for that. We still use the word sex for that. It's not like we got rid of biology. Biology didn't disappear. We didn't just throw biology out the window and say, okay, no more biology, sayonara, sucker. Like, no, we still have biology. We still talk about biology. We just have something that's separate that we didn't have words for before. We didn't have a way of explaining it before. You are talking this whole convo so seriously. Got to lighten up. No! This is so frustrating. It's like insanely frustrating for me to say something and then somebody to ask a question right after. That's like, it's like me being like, look, so like a dog, he's got 4 legs, he's got 2 ears, he's got a nose, he's got a tongue, you know, he's got a tail. And then somebody's like, but Tom, come on, man. You can't deny that a dog has 4 legs, bro. Like, you should at least admit that much, man. That's what I feel like. That's what I feel like over and over. It's like literally right after I say something, they're like, yeah, bro, but what about that thing that you just talked about that you refuse to talk about? Like, gender, we didn't like change the definition necessarily. We better understood what it was that we were looking at and what we were talking about. So, like, we have a better understanding of the concept of gender. But we didn't get rid of sex. We didn't get rid of biology. We still have that. That's still around. We're not getting rid of it. It's still important. It still matters. It like, and you'll be happy to know that as soon as we better understood gender, we were like, hey, this is so amazing, dude. We have this like new concept. We better understand gender and it's evolved, and like we can actually get into like the intricacies of how we've actually been dealing with this stuff our entire lives, and we just didn't really understand it before. It's so cool. Let's abolish it. That's freaking leftists, dude. That's these great freaking brilliant leftists out here. Like, yo, dude, this is so awesome. Like, we got it to where like trans people and women and men, like we all understand each other better now. That's so cool. Let's get rid of it. We just got it. It's amazing. See you later, dude. You do a whole shows on explaining the evolution of words, so just shooting down a word used by a whole culture seems off. That's all I'm saying. What are you talking about? Shooting down a word used by a whole culture. We didn't shoot down any words. When people talk about gender, what I explain is what they're talking about. I don't care if you're on the right or the left. You are talking about what I'm talking about. Now, okay, let me revise that. People like Demon Mama are not talking about what I'm talking about. I don't know. People like Aiko, they're not talking about what I'm talking about. They're talking about something that exists on another planet. But like when I say we evolved our understanding, I don't mean we evolved the definition. No, I'm saying like we just better understood what it was we were talking about. And now we can explain it better. That I'm not saying like, yo, we invented this new way of looking at it. No, I'm saying like we look at it the same. We just understand now how we look at it. I don't know. Maybe I just misunderstand when you tell half the country they are using something wrong, yet embrace the evolution of words. Again, When we're talking about pragmatics, we're talking about the way that it is actually enacted in your everyday life, right? Okay? So stay with me for a second, okay? Tom, you seem to want, to me anyway, to want to narrow the meaning of Marxist to something most people don't agree with. No, I don't. No, I hold on. I'll get back to Marxist, okay? So listen, with gender, okay? With gender. When I'm saying this, I'm saying you agree with my definition. You this is how you use it. You just don't know, okay? So, look. What is this person's chromosomes? Okay. So the answer is you have absolutely no clue what their chromosomes are. Okay? You have absolutely no clue what this woman's chromosomes are. There's no way you can tell. You have absolutely no idea. What genitalia does she have? Can you tell me that? No. No, you can't tell me that because you can't see her genitalia. You can't see the genitalia of 99% of the people that you interact with on a daily basis. You can't see the chromosomes of 99.9999999% of the people that you interact with. When you say, I'm talking about sex or the biological when I say gender, okay? If that's the case, you don't know if this is a woman or a man. You have absolutely no clue because you can't see this person's genitals. You can't see their chromosomes. You can't see their gametes. You can't see any of the things that you would need to understand their biology or to understand their sex. You don't have any of that information. And you don't have any of the information for most of the people, 99.99999% of the people that you interact with on a daily basis. You don't have any of that information for any of those people. Okay? So, in the way that you say you use sex, how many times have you given these people a test to test their gametes or to test their chromosomes? Or how many times have you told these people to take off their pants so that you can see whether or not they have a penis or a vagina or both? How many times? How often do you do that so that you know the type of gender that you're talking about? How do you know if they are that type of gender? You don't. You can't know. You never know. The type of gender that I'm talking about when it comes to like a gender expression that we can see when we look at somebody, when they fit into a binary of either man or woman, they look feminine or they look masculine, then you know. You look at them and you see, oh, they look like a woman. So I'm going to call them a woman, right? That's not biology. That's like clothes, makeup, hair, stuff like that. Like, those are. But Tom, people keep saying gender when gender means biological sex, and it's causing confusion by using the term incorrectly, just like people using cultural Marxism in a way you don't think fits. No, I'm not talking about cultural Marxism. And I never mentioned cultural Marxism this entire time. I didn't mention it once. I'm not talking about cultural Marxism. And it's not about whether or not it fits. It's about the fact that, like, it's rooted in Marxism, but there's like, I don't remember how many he said there were, like 7 or 8 other theories that came from Marxism. And then so say this theory was built off of Marxism, and then we said, okay, let's go to this one. This one's built off that one. This one's built off of that one. This one's built off of that one. This one's built off of that one. And then eventually we get critical legal studies, and then critical race theory is built off of that one. It's like, damn, you got to go back like all of these other freaking theories and schools and studies and all of this stuff to finally get back to what they started with, which was Marxism. It was But they're all building off of each other, not off of Marxism, but off of each other, right? They're building from the last theory. They're building from the last study. Okay. Oh, it's a joke. But gender didn't start with identity. Okay, so just tell me you want to use gender as sex and you never know what gender somebody is. Because again, you think of the definition as sex. But when you look at somebody, you are not actually defining them as a man or a woman based off of their sex. You're not doing that. Nobody does that. You are calling them a woman based on what they look like, based on what we now call gender. I think either you accept people changing words to fit new arising phenomena, or you don't. It's not a new arising phenomenon. This is the way we've always done it. We have always decided whether or not somebody was a man or a woman based on looking at them, not based on any biological things. But you shouldn't accept it for one and deny it for another. I don't know what you're talking about. You're saying because I accept a different definition for something, now anytime somebody ever wants to change a definition for anything for the rest of my life, I have to accept that every single time now? Is that it? Is that the answer? Somebody comes over and they're like, hey, Tom, I want to call your penis a vagina. Now I got to be like, well, I accept changing definitions. So, no, we've assumed biology based on looks, but we still use gender as biology. Yes, we assumed based on looks. We don't need to make assumptions, though. That the assumption that you're making is called gender. That is the assumption that you're making. You just said it right there. You just said it. That's it. You have always assumed their sex based on gender. Thank you. It's just like if we say like, hey, I say a human is somebody with human DNA and human cells, and they are part of the human species, part of the human race, right? And then I pull up this. Okay? This is what I pull up. And I say, oh, so this is a human then, right? You're going to be like, what? No. That's not a human. So what do you mean? You're like, well, they have to have like a normal head with two legs and two arms coming off of a torso with a butt and like a chest, and that guy doesn't have a chest. He doesn't have a butt. He doesn't have a torso. Like his head isn't on a neck. Like wait, you said that he had to have human DNA. Did you test his DNA? Do you know he doesn't have human DNA? No, you're making that assumption based on the way he looks, right? This is the same thing. You don't know that he's not a human if you define human as someone with human DNA. You can't say he's not a human. You didn't test his DNA, right? So this is the same thing. I can just tell you, no, he has human DNA. You'll say, well, no, we make assumptions that they have human DNA based on the way that they look. Oh, okay, cool. We'll call those phenotypes. That's something different than human species, right? They're separate. Even though you use phenotypes to decide or make an assumption on whether or not they are part of the human species, We're not going to say phenotypes and human species are the same thing. I'll put this as best as I can. I use the current definition of gender because I don't think there's any use in denying a word to the point I can't understand half the country. I think this is a similar case. All right. My point is you understand it, and this is how you use it. And this is how you've been using it. And you literally just explained it. Like, you literally made my entire point for me by saying we use these things to make these assumptions. That was my entire point, is you use these things to make those assumptions. Meaning has nothing to do with the actual definition. Like, if your definition is based on gametes, or it's based on chromosomes, or it's based on private parts, your definition has nothing to do with how you decide whether or not somebody is a man or a woman. So you never know whether or not somebody is a man or a woman based on your definition. Based on my definition, you always know whether or not somebody is a man or a woman, or at least whether or not they have like a masculine or feminine presentation. All right, meaning has nothing to do with the definition. What? What are you talking about? So, okay. All right. Gender. In languages such as Latin, Greek, Russian, and German, each of the classes, typically masculine, feminine, common, neutral, of nouns and pronouns distinguished by the different inflections that they have and require in words syntactically associated with them. Grammatical gender is only very loosely associated with natural distinctions of sex. There you go. There's your definition.
You rejected the rejection.
Okay, also, I wasn't talking about cultural Marxism. I'm not saying that because of the understanding of what Marxism is, that they are incorrect. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that because like when it comes to gender, I'm saying this is how you understand gender already. Okay? Like, I'm saying this is already how you talk about it. This is already how you look at it. This is already how you think about it. You just don't know. Like, we have to like look more like philosophically at these words to understand how we use them, how we use them pragmatically, right? Now with Marxism, this is something that it's not about like an understanding when you haven't read like Marxist theory or anything like that. You haven't read Das Kapital. You haven't read like the Communist Manifesto, right? Like, you don't have an understanding of it. You're just making assumptions about it. And that's the problem, is that so many people make all of these different assumptions about this thing that is dumb, is stupid. I'm completely on board with freaking McCarthyism. Like, we need to bring that back. Okay? Whatever happened to McCarthyism, dude? That's a great tweet. Whatever happened to McCarthyism? Hell yeah. But it's not so much about the understanding. It's about the fact that like different sides, like this is an actual theory, right? So just some people are right and some people are wrong. Just like if somebody says like, oh, gender is sex, like they would just be wrong. Like nobody uses it that way. Nobody understands it that way. Like if you use Marxism to mean something that it's not, then you're just wrong. Like regardless of your understanding or your like the meaning that you have behind it, like that's not what it actually is.
Okay, so we're,
so-
for the rest of the debate, let's all talk in double negatives. Okay, I will start by saying that I don't.
We can write it out.
I will start by saying that I don't dislike jangles. Okay.
Thanks for that. And I would,
So Urasama, I like that you brought that up. He said, by that logic, people who read biology books wouldn't have changed the word gender. They're just making assumptions about it. So the thing is that people in biology have actually complained about this for a while, that people are confusing biology / sex with other things. They confuse it all the time. They changed the definition in academia, and like the medical professions started using gender to mean something different than sex like 70 years ago, bro. Like they changed it a long time ago because they understood that nobody is using it the way that they're using it, because nobody understands biology. But they keep talking about this freaking crap as if they're looking at freaking gametes and stuff like that. Tom, this makes no sense because they were literally using gender wrong until the word changed. No, they weren't. You've been using it right the whole time. I can't keep saying this. This is always the way that we have used it. We just didn't know that that's how we were using it. But this is the way it's always been. We didn't change the definition. We just figured out that this is the definition that we've always had. It's like if our whole lives we've been calling the sky red. And then eventually we're like, oh wait, freaking crap, dude, the sky's actually blue. Okay, let's call it blue now. People are like, whoa, you changed the definition. You changed the color of the sky. We're like, no, we didn't change the color of the sky because the sky's still the same color, but we just used the wrong word the whole time. Yes, this is the way you've always used it, dude. This is what I just explained to you. The whole thing that I just went through is me explaining it to you. You don't know somebody's sex. You don't know somebody's biology. You don't know their chromosomes. You are using it based on how they look. That's it. That's what gender expression is. That's how we understand what gender is. That's how we look at these things. That is the way these things work. Just like we have the word phenotypes, because we don't really know whether or not somebody's human, but we can tell that they have human phenotypes, and that's how we can kind of make an assumption about the fact that they're human. It's like if our whole lives we've been calling the sky the moon because we looked through a telescope that only saw the moon. We assumed the sky was the moon, but past that assumption, there's an entire sky. No. No. I'm just... No, there's nothing... We didn't add anything to gender. We just explained to you how you already use it. You always use gender this way. You do. Whether you can choose to not understand or not acknowledge it, and that's fine. Change is scary. Learning is a crazy thing. But this is how you use it. You just proved to me that that is how you use it. You just don't want to use it that way. Like, you don't want to acknowledge that you use it that way. We assumed gender was what we saw, but it meant biological sex, which was beyond what we could assume with the info we were given. But it still meant the entire biological sex. Okay, so again, you don't know anybody's sex. You can't make an assumption. You just don't know. You don't know anybody's gender. You've never known anybody's gender unless you tested their gametes. Even your own partner, you do not know their gender because you haven't tested their gametes. So, okay, Urasama, I'm not saying that you need to know. I don't know why I have to keep explaining the same things over and over. Like you can only keep strawmanning me into a new position every time so that I have to answer another wild accusation. We assumed gender was what we saw, but it meant biological sex, which was beyond what we could assume with the info we were given, but it still meant biological sex the entire time. I don't need to know someone's biological sex for gender to mean biological sex. Okay. That's fine. But you can't use the word biological sex as though you know someone's gender. That's my point. You have absolutely no use in the word gender then. Okay? You have no use in this. This is a biology term. You're not a biologist. You can't use it. Okay? It's of no use to you. The thing is that you will still use it, and you will use it the way that I'm saying you're using it. And that's that. That's just kind of the end of it. Everybody uses it the way you can keep saying, well, I define it. When somebody asks me what it means, I will tell them biological sex, but I'll never use it as though it's biological sex. I will use it the way that Tom's using it. So that's fine. I'm talking about pragmatics. I'm talking about the way that we use words. I'm not talking about the way that we define them. You can define it however you want. I care about how you use the word. Just like the word canceled, right? People want to say like, oh, this is what canceled means. That's what canceled means. Well, really, like when you're talking about somebody getting canceled, you're just talking about a large group of people disavowing them all at once. That's it. That's what you mean when somebody's getting canceled. But you can define it however you want. Give it whatever definition you want to give it. That's fine. But this is how you're using it.
Disagree both with the descriptions and prescriptions, and I want to talk about the descriptions real quick. Jangles, you kind of assumed that like I or Adam or P.
It's just a word, man. Oh my goodness. Keith. Again. This is literally what I do for a living, right? Okay. I try to explain to people how we use words and how we put them into application. And like what it is that people will understand from these words. I'm agreeing with you. Okay, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I think it's fine for him to make a big deal about a word. I think it's fine for me to make a big deal about a word. That's what we do here.
PSA Sitch would agree that whites were the objective oppressors during certain times of history or something like that.
Sass, you realize I have a job, right? Like a real job. My eyes are not red because I've been streaming for the last 18 hours. Sorry, 21 hours. Sorry. Yes, 21 hours. Okay.
The reason why I don't like that analysis is because it ignores a lot of like the different factional strife during certain amounts of time. So for instance, in the 19th century in particular, where like whites were obviously historically oppressing black people, the black people were only 13% of the population of the United States. So if they were always an oppressor.
Urasama. I let people poke the whites of my eyes because They're oppressing the blacks of my eyes. Just end stream there.